right, good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, y'all. What it do? It is your boy, SportsRap D, in the building. And peep this. Listen, we got a lot of stuff to get to today. And y'all know what it is. Y'all know what we do here. You know what I do here. You know how I get down. And we got some things to discuss today. We definitely had a Sixers win, of course. And we're going to talk about that win because there were some calls in that game that could have went, whew, yeah. So we're going to get to that definitely, as you all will see. Also, you know where I'm at, Heat100Radio.com. You can get us on the TuneIn app. Just search Heat 100 Radio. Also, Facebook, as always, each and every Monday, right here in the group page, SportsRap Podcast LLC is where you can get me right now. Also, on Instagram, at SportsRap CEO is where you can get me there for a simultaneous live feed. So we're going to get it cracking, like, you know what we're doing here. And listen, we're going to get to some news and some updates like we always do. We're going to do the scores and everything like that. And then we're going to get into the show. So, you know, if you saw the post, you saw we got some Sixers stuff that we're going to get to. Definitely going to talk about yesterday's game because yesterday's game is a game that we got the win, and like I posted immediately after, it wasn't pretty, but we'll take it. You know, we go back to Boston, tied up 2-2, and, you know, we'll see how it plays out. I liked what happened, but I'm going to save that for when we talk Sixers talk, all right? So, in the news and updates, here we go. Amanda Serrano is set to defend her title in a rematch with Heather Hardy. An ex-Wisconsin football player, Marcus Randall L., was sentenced for killings. Crazy how a lot of these former players get into things like these types of situations. You know, we've also seen a lot of the domestic abuse situations in the past several years. And one of the things that bothers me about it is the majority of the time when we're dealing with these athletes who are normally in impeccable shape, a lot of times the women that they're dating, ironically, are petite or extremely petite. So it's like a mammoth of a man putting his hands on a petite or extremely petite woman. It is totally out of order, totally out of control in my book. I don't approve of it. I don't like it. You know, but when it comes up, I report it because it's part of what I do here. But it's really crazy, like we said, with the athlete thing, and you know, it's just really strange. Like you didn't think or plan anything out in your time frame in your existence afterwards. After your career to do anything else. And then, like I said, some of these guys that go into the life of crime. Like, he wasn't doing that before. So, did it get that bad? I'll go there. Did it get that bad to make it go to that point where you had to turn to a life of crime and other things? You know, how? Did it get that bad? And then how did it get that bad are the two questions I have about a lot of these situations. The reports are out that Messi is seriously discussing a deal with the Saudi league that will be worth $400 million per year. I think I need to learn how to play soccer very quickly, and hopefully I can get a gene or get some special tutoring and I can get really good really fast. $400 million a year, craziness. And we thought the NBA contracts were crazy. Just something. Tori Bowie, a three-time Olympic sprint medalist, dies at the young age of 32. Iowa State dismisses a football player accused of rape and breaking a woman's back. Another one. See exactly what I mean. Of course, football player didn't necessarily say what position he was. It just said he was a football player. So again, in my whole scenario, is a football player. Iowa State Division I top-tier football program. This dude is probably in the weight room. Not probably, he's in the weight room. Depending on where his position is. He's in the weight room. He's in very good shape. He's probably in tip-top shape, if you will. And plays football at the top school. So his aggressive nature comes out on the field naturally. But then again, it could come up in other situations which could not be acceptable. And since he has done that and he's been dismissed. Oklahoma and Texas received final approvals to join the SEC in 2024. The Bucks part ways with coach Mike Budenholzer. Vita Blue, a former AL American League MVP and three-time World Series champ, dies at the age of 73. Nick Gilbert, the son of Cavs owner, dies at the age of 26. And the Dallas Stars canceled their outdoor Game 3 watch party after a shooting in Dallas. Once again, Harden erupts hits the game winner after sending the game to a tie, sending the game into overtime with the hitting shot that made the tie. He also comes back in the overtime and hits the game winner in overtime. Your scores for Sunday in the USFL: the Breakers 20, Generals 17, Stallions 24, the Maulers 20. In the NHL playoffs, the Hurricanes fall to the Devils 8-4. The Hurricanes are now up in that series 2-1. The Stars and the Kraken take that game 7-2. They are now up 2-1 in that series. Mr. Terrell, Instagram, homie, thanks for tuning in, good brother. Let's see, the Maple Leafs and the Panthers. The Maple Leafs fall in overtime 3-2. The Panthers are now up 3-0 in that series. So, moving on to some baseball scores. The Orioles and the Braves in 12 innings. The Braves take that 3-2. Red Sox and the Phils get the win also 6-1 over the Red Sox. The Blue Jays 10-1 over the Padres. The Rockies 13-6 over the Mets. The Twins get blanked by the Guardians 2-0. Another extra inning game. This one went 10. The Rays get by the Yankees 8-7. Tigers fall to the Cardinals in St. Louis 12-6. The A's go to KC and fall to the Royals 3-1. In Chicago, the Marlins get by the Cubs in 14, 5-4. The Brewers beat the Giants 7-3. The Rangers double up the Angels, 16-8. The White Sox beat up on the Reds 17-4. The Astros fall to the Mariners 3-1. In a tight one, the Nationals get by the Diamondbacks 9-8. And in the nightcap last night, the Padres at home fall to the Dodgers 5-2. Got 5 games with like double-digit scores for baseball yesterday. So there's a lot of points being scored in baseball. Nuggets, NBA playoffs. Nuggets in the nightcap last night. The Nuggets fall to the Suns 129-124. That series is also tied up at now 2 apiece. And in the marquee game for us to discuss today, Philadelphia 76ers at home against the Boston Celtics. In overtime, Sixers get that game. They eke out a 1-point win, 116-115 in overtime. The series is now tied 2-2. Before I get into that dialogue, I do have to give some shout-outs and give some congratulations and some praise to my good brother. I'm sure if he catches up, he'll come in and he always says blessings. So I'm going to give him blessings early today. Blessings and kudos to my guy, Coach Stan Groovy Laws. Most of you might know him as, who has been putting on the showcase, Philly All-American showcase for high school girls and boys to showcase their talent. And this is the 3rd year running, and it just gets better and better and bigger every year. I think this is the first year that there was a middle school boys game, so that was actually pretty good to see. There is surprisingly some very good middle school talent in and around the city that you typically won't get to see unless you are in the AAU circuit. So next year, you know when, because I post everything. You know, when I see the information or he sends it to me, I post it and share it so you can get it and get all the information. Take your time out, come out and support these kids. My guy, Jay Blake, always. Like I said in one of my videos yesterday, I said to the people that were watching, that were tuned in, I said, we have some kids we know, and we see it all day, every day. We see the kids that are doing what they're doing in the community, in the wrong way. We need to acknowledge and congratulate these young people, like the people that I saw, like the young people I witnessed yesterday, that are doing the right thing, that have a positive attitude and are competing and participating in positive activities. All inspired by one local high school young lady ball player who was close to Stan. And if you go back and you can check his story, you'll see about that story. You go back to Philly All-American game is the Instagram page. You can check that out and get all the information there. But I had to get on here and give out some kudos to that. I'm always invited to that event. Like I said, if you see, you can go back into my page and you get some posts. I had some live on both Instagram and Facebook yesterday. So go back and check that out, and then get over to that page and check them out as well. Remember, we got to keep a hold. We got to keep guiding. We got to keep guiding and keep our grips on those youth that are doing the right thing. So shout outs to Coach Stan Groovy Laws. Blessings and congratulations to you, as always, for putting on a great event that you did yesterday. So first thing I want to do today is, because it's right on the top of my head, and it is somewhat of the topic of discussion this morning. Of course, it's going to be the topic of discussion because of the way the game played out, and I'm mostly right now speaking of results and things of that nature. So I'm getting my paper and I'm getting my things together here now. So I got my notes together in front of me, right? So we're going to keep going. Coach Robert Reeves, thanks for tuning in on the IG. As always, like I said, folks, you know where I'm at. Y'all know what to do. A little different on Facebook today, so if you chime in, I got Antoine Terrell that's in watching, so I might be able to get it. Some technical difficulties on my part. My timing was a little off this morning. I left some things home, but I'm making do. As you see, I am here still. Nonetheless, I made a way to make things happen. So, getting into that game yesterday, Game 4, Sixers, Celtics, Eastern Conference semifinals. We saw what happened in Game 3. And we can backtrack a little bit and talk about Game 3. Excuse me, if you will, being as though that was on Friday, and so it was after our show. Friday's game, for me, was eventually, let me say this, it eventually became one of those, if you will, throwaway games. I spoke to one of our listeners, one of our good friends here, Claude, via social media the other day. It might have been yesterday. And we mentioned some things about the other game. And I said, yeah, that other game, it was no life, no urgency. It was just like they showed up. And I'm not going to go and say that it was that much of a defensive change in what Boston was doing. I'm not going to say the making of shots, because they have been making shots all series long. Both teams have pretty much been making shots. It's just that one game, that Game 3. It doesn't sit well with a lot of the fans, of course, because of the way it looked. Of course, yeah, it's definitely a blowout. Total blowout from start to finish. And I think Boston had to come in with that type of purpose because of the fact that they had lost home court advantage with the Sixers taking Game 1. Sixers get taken one in Boston. I remember. Taking one game in Boston. So they come here split 1-1. Of course, they were going to have that urgency because of the way Game 2 played out. Okay. The Sixers in Game 3 just didn't do it. It just wasn't there. Now, yesterday's game was a lot different than Friday's game. Of course, late in the game, they gave you that panic attack where Boston came back and took the lead, and it looked like things were going to begin to dive back into that unforsaken place where we don't want to be. Fortunately for us, they showed some things. They showed some urgency. They showed some toughness. And they willed out a win. First, they willed it into overtime, and then they willed out a win in overtime. A lot of things that took place in that game. And here's the thing, like we tell you all the time, shout out to my guy Baldy, who's not here with me, doing some things, but I'm sure he's tuned in. And one of the things that we always say here is that when we watch games, we tend now to watch the games on mute or very, very low. So, and then also with me doing the podcast and just being a fan, I watch the games a lot differently than the typical fan. Now, so I'm watching a lot of the other stuff that's going on as well. So there was a stretch, but there was a point in the game, late in that game. Actually, it was that and one that brought us to within one by P.J. Tucker, I think. I think it brought it to within one. And P.J. immediately goes to Joel, and he's like telling him in his ear, and then it came out in the press conference after the game, and he said to him, look, they can't hold you in there. Can't nobody stop you in there. Just be aggressive and do what you do. And then the reporters asked him about it, and what PJ's point behind it was, we need everybody to do what they do. He said the same thing in the press conference. He said, nobody can hold Joel in there. And he said, it's no disrespect to Al or anybody else, but it's just the reality of what we see. So he needs to be aggressive. And when he's aggressive, there's nobody that can stop him. Then it opens up things for everybody else, and things become easier for the rest of the guys. So he basically just told him, look, we need you to stay aggressive. No matter what's going on, he can't hold you. He may get a couple plays here and there, but really, he can't hold you. And in the heat of the moment, you got to go at him. You can't play around with it. Don't think about it. You just got to go at him. Be aggressive. Be Joel. Especially in this moment when the season is on the line. I love it. And see, this brings me to my point again. And some people may have some things to say about this too. And a lot of people have this big issue with P.J. Tucker because of the money. Okay, folks, I get it. I understand the situation with the money and the contract that he got. But there's nothing you can do about that as a fan. There's nothing you can do. You can scream about it, you can complain about it, you can stress about it, whatever. But there is nothing that you can do about it once it's done. It's that King by Design. Thanks for tuning in on the IG. So again, with the contract, and I understand what people say about that. But then again, like I said, as a fan and whatever, there's nothing that you can do about that contract. There's nothing. And I went through my whole scenario when that people were saying, oh, we can get this person, some younger players, a little more athletic and yada, yada, yada. And I said, yeah, but think about it also on the contract. How many of those guys would come and play for that $10 million the way the NBA is set up now? So, again, you can't have it both ways. All right? But I'm going to... Oh, okay, Marcus. Thanks. I didn't know that was you. You change your Instagram like every other week. So, what's going on, cuz? With that, you look at it in this type of light. Okay? And I'm going to take you guys back a little bit down memory lane. I'm going to try and prove something. Not so much prove something to you, but I'm going to try and bring a point to focus about a lot of the stuff that I've been talking about this entire season and everything around P.J. Tucker. All right. So we all go through the thing when everybody said, yeah, P.J. Tucker, the money. Kind of like I said, I get it, the contract. It is what it is. Can't do nothing about the contract, no matter what, as a fan. There's nothing you can do about it. So suck that up, eat it, whatever. And then the people are saying, like, well, we could have got this person. So with that money, like I said, you can't have it both ways. You can't have your cake and eat it too. All right, so we end up with P.J. Tucker. So here we go. Game 1, especially Game 4. P.J. Tucker, you see it, has brought some toughness to this team. He is the type of guy who feels like, in my opinion, if he does it, if he's doing it, then he has the right to say it to you that for you to be doing it. Let's see. Coach Robert Reeves says about 10 other teams would have paid the amount of money for a player like that. He brings more to the team than scoring. Absolutely, Rob, and I'm getting into that. Thank you, Coach Rob, for adding that in. So where I'm going with it is, like I said, I'm gonna break this down for you. So I feel like the things that he does on the court, the way he plays, and the way he gets into players, his teammates on the bench, in timeouts, and even during the course of the game. I feel like the type of player that he is, the types of things that he does, he can do that. He is allowed. He's afforded that luxury, in my opinion. Okay? Like Coach Rob said, a lot of other teams that will pay to have guys like this on their team. Okay? So, we move along. We progress. There have been games. There were games in the first series where P.J. Tucker hit threes. There's going to be a lot more where he doesn't hit threes, but he hit some threes. He hit a couple yesterday. He got a crucial, listen to me, people, crucial rebound, put back, and one late in the game. And that's when he went to Joel and he told Joel what he needed to tell him. But here we go. Now, I'm going to say this, and some people might think or say, you still harping on that, he's not our problem anymore, yada, yada, yada. But I need to go there to prove this point, to get people to understand what I'm saying. Coach Rob is tuned in, and I'm sure he'll understand where I'm going with this. So, in an ideal situation, we're going to talk these two players. And I understand two different types of players. But we're just going to talk basketball. And since today's NBA is allegedly considered positionless basketball, this comparison right now in this moment kind of fits. Would you rather have Ben Simmons, who won't shoot it, who gets petrified when the thought of getting sent to the free throw line enters his body? Or would you rather have a guy like P.J. Tucker who's going to hustle for you? So, in a sense, when you look at these two players, you still get that defense, you still get that hustle, you get a little bit more toughness on the P.J. Tucker side. But then we flip to the offensive side. If Ben's not going downhill, or on occasion, posting up a smaller guard, he's looking to give the ball up. The other side with PJ's going to float to that corner to attempt to create the spacing. A lot of teams will tend to go halfway, leave him alone, because he's not really a typical normal threat to score. But for basketball playing purposes, rules of the game, concepts of the game, things you want to do with your team in the game, all of that kind of stuff rolled into one, would you rather have a player that's going to shoot that shot, and let's say he shoots 5 a game and he only makes 1, as opposed to another player who's going to be given that shot the same amount of times and not take 1? So again, I say, and people, please chime in. You know where I'm at SportsRap CEO on Instagram, SportsRap Podcast LLC on Facebook. So again, I say, which one would you rather have? Would you rather have that guy that you know is definitely going to shoot it? And then you'll learn to live with his misses because of the other things that he's going to do for you on the court. Or would you have the other guy who's going to be iffy and not going to want to be aggressive in that moment? Jay Blake says, give me the guy with the heart and toughness, because guys with heart tend to make plays when things get tough. Abso-freaking-lutely. Perfect example, what we're talking about right now, we're talking about P.J. Tucker, where who would have expected P.J. Tucker to get that rebound and go right back up and put back? These are the type of plays that you get from a veteran who has won a championship, who knows that the season is on the line, who knows, look, listen, it is what it is. I'm still going back up. I make it, get the hand one or not. I'm still playing basketball. Now, we all know, from the situation before. There is a chance that if Ben Simmons was in that situation, he would have been looking to pass the ball to somebody else. I'm not saying definite, but I'm saying because of what we know from the past, there is a chance that that could happen. PJ went right back up, got the foul, and he gets steps to the line, shoots the free throw, makes the and one. Got another ball game that put it to 1. But again, which guy do you want? Like I said, we can take the contracts out because as fans and whatever, we can't do you know what about the money. It ain't nothing we can do about that. But just sit here and say, oh, well, that's too much money and this and that and the third, whatever. After a while, that gets tired. Because, again, there's nothing you can do. And it's going to happen again at some point. Maybe not here, but somewhere else in another league or another team or something. It's going to happen again. It happens all the time. So there's nothing you can do about it. It's just the nature of the business at that level. Okay? But, again, you look at what P.J. Tucker has done. You think about it. He brought some toughness. You may not see it immediately. You may not see it all the time. And some of you may not understand fully and have that basketball IQ and completely understand what I'm talking about. But here's the thing. Let's go back to 3-4 years ago when Brett Brown was still the coach. Okay. In situations like yesterday's game, those Brett Brown teams would have folded. And I'm talking Brett Brown prior to Tobias Harris and the Jimmy Butler moves, okay? Those teams would have typically folded in that situation, and Boston took the lead. There would have been a wrap. Boston would have won that game going away at the end. Difference with this team now. Same way in game 1. Did they take game 1? They took game 1. No, whatever. But anyway, the way they fought in game 1 and then the way they fought yesterday. Yeah, in game 1, Robert Reeves, in game 1 when Brogdon threw the ball to Maxey, Tucker was the help defender on every person who tried to penetrate the lane. The ball rotated around the perimeter, and he was there every time. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, I agree with that. Like I said, this is the toughness where I'm saying. He won that one. Okay. Then Boston won game 2. And then, they come here and they win game 3. And then we get back. But again, the toughness, like I said, 3-4 years ago, let's go there. 3-4 years ago, the Sixers team would have folded in that moment. This year, they fought through. Went to their bread and butter plays. The guys who needed to step up. The stars performed. Although James Harden had a subpar game in game 3, he made up and had a lot better game yesterday. Didn't score the 45, but it was a lot better game yesterday. Moving along right after that play for P.J. Tucker in the and one, cut it to 1. Come down, and then Tatum, and here I'm coming with it. Tatum, the three on Maxey, which in my opinion looked like a 2. Okay, when I saw the replay, it looked like a 2. Because his foot looked like it was on the line. That right foot looked like it was on the line. But nonetheless, that's not the biggest issue. The bigger issue is the fact that the offensive foul on the push-off on Jason Tatum was not called following a questionable offensive call on Joel Embiid on Marcus Smart. Now, let's break both of these plays down. And you can go back and look at both of these plays at your leisure. All right? The Joel Embiid call. Joel Embiid was excited after the whistle blew. He pretty much knew and felt that he had that blocking foul. In my opinion, and this is a former referee coming out and me watching the game and then watching the replay and watching it in slow motion and all of that jazz, I felt like he was still moving a little bit. It could have went either way. Okay? I'll be honest. 1,000% honest. It could have went either way. But in the premise of officiating a basketball game, I kind of feel like it could have been Skip, my uncle. Good morning, Unc. What's going on? How are you? In my opinion, like I said, as an official, as a coach, as a player, I feel like it could have went Joel's way. It definitely could have went Joel's way. Scotty Philly, thanks for tuning in on Instagram. I felt like he was still moving, his upper body moving a little bit. And I understand the concept. I know you're allowed to protect yourself, but it just looked like he was still moving a little bit, trying to adjust into legit position, which I don't think he was fully at the time. Okay? It wasn't called. We review it. Don't unsuccessful review. You play on. Okay? Still a tight game. You play on. You come down. They see that you're switching, and I'm referring to ball. They see that you're switching, and I think it's Tobias Harris and Marcus Smart, and they're switching, and then they switch off and they get Tyrese locked up on Tatum. For that possession, until the shot is attempted, Tyrese, I think, is playing pretty solid defense on Tatum. Undersized, of course, but I still think he's playing pretty good defense. Gets up in him, tries to make the shot harder. You know, that's what you're taught. Especially if you're undersized in there, the best thing you can do is just pressure him. Either make him take a shot that he doesn't want to take, make him take a forced shot, or just make the shot a tough shot for him. Okay? Before the push-off, I think Tyrese Maxey did a fairly good job of playing defense on Tatum. And then there's the push-off. You see it. Now, a lot of people will analyze it and say, oh, well, maybe Tyrese should have just went on down to the floor, and then they might have called it. Listen, in my opinion, at that stage, it doesn't matter if he went to the floor. You see the velocity that he went backwards in the push-off. And then he rises up and he hits the three. And again, like I said, also watching that play over and over again, I also feel like it was a 2 and not a 3. If you look at it again, just look at Jason Tatum's feet. You know, watch the push-off is obvious. You're not going to miss that. Okay, watch it again, but look at his feet. I swear, I feel like that could have been a 2. But I was at home watching it on TV, so I have no bearings on that call. But I can talk about it this morning like I'm talking about it now. So I talk about this all the time with my coworkers, with a lot of other people. And that push-off, if Jason Tatum gets in that position 9 times a game, he's pushing off 8. And don't get me wrong, phenomenal player, okay? Very, very good. Okay, phenomenal. Like I said, phenomenal player. But he pushes off almost every time. Coach Rob on Instagram, he says, you see Tatum extending his arm. It was definitely an offensive foul. Yeah, and the problem I have with it, Rob, like I said, my referee hat coming back on, is the official was right there on the play. Okay? It's not like he was on the opposite side in that triangle looking at it. He was right there on the play. And he blew a call. It's a bad call. I mean, you can tell that he blew the call because Doc was irate at his press conference. And don't get me wrong, okay? Typically, when you see Doc at press conferences and you ask him about questionable calls, he usually gives you the sign that he might be a little disturbed or upset about a certain call. But typically in his response, he brings the response. So he delivers the response in a way that you could arguably say is politically correct. And what I mean when I say that, he usually gives you a typical nonchalant answer after he gives you something to lead into. He preempts it with something, a little quick comment or repeating the question or asks the reporter the question again himself to let you know that he is disturbed about it or it is bothering him. But then when he finally gives his answer, the answer is typically one of those answers where it's like, all right, I'm going to conform to what people want to hear. And I get it. I understand that. But yesterday was totally different. Yesterday I was actually a little proud of Doc at that call because it was something different that I hadn't seen in a while. I mean, he's done it before, but I haven't seen it in a while. And now, playoff time, a call that almost cost you the game, or a non-call that almost cost you the game, he was irate during that press conference. I give him all the credit for that. like I said, I was somewhat impressed and a little proud that we got that from him. Everyone saw that was an offensive foul. Everyone sees how Joel is getting beat up. I am one also to say I love his game. I see the fact that he gets beat up, but he falls a lot. I am one to also say that I love the kid, but I think he's clumsy. He's always on the floor. So I label him clumsy. Okay. Added in with the way he gets beat up is not a very good combination, and we've seen that 4 or 5 years running in the playoffs. We've seen it. So we're used. I'm not going to say we're used to it. I'll say we're accustomed to it. Because nobody gets used to that. I mean, it's getting to the point where it's tight. So like I said, when he got hurt this time, people were asking me like, "Oh, well, what is it?" Listen, man, all I can tell you is hope for the best. Because it happens again. It happened every time. It happens all the time. So again, I say he's more, in my opinion, he's a lot more on the clumsy side. Because like I said, I see how he gets beat up. But I still say that he's clumsy. Like I said, I love him as a player. He's the MVP of the league. Don't get me wrong. Take him on my team any day. But he's got to work on that clumsiness. That's how I feel. He's got to work on that clumsiness. I think that's what has him on the floor a lot more than a lot of other players in the league. So it's definitely a thing to see. So, looking at the scores in the box score, from yesterday's game. Since I have it right in front of me, I'm going to start with the Celtics here. Tatum didn't have a great night. 9 of 20 from the floor totally. Overall from 3-point land, 1 for 6. Ended with 24 points. Jaylen Brown had 23. Marcus Smart ended with 21. Malcolm Brogdon did his thing to us again with 19 off the bench. Then we flip to our side of the ball, the Sixers here. You look at PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker, 2 of 5 from the floor, overall field goals, 1 of 4 from 3-point land. 3 rebounds, 1 key offensive rebound and put back. 6 points total. But here's the thing. The things that don't show up in the box score. He had 4 fouls, but the things that don't show up in the box score are the things that a lot of teams like Coach Rob said on Instagram are the things that plenty of teams in the NBA will pay for. Now, something just struck me, right? And Rob, I want to see if you have anything to say about this and how you feel about this. I'm sitting here and I'm talking about how the things that PJ Tucker does usually doesn't show up in the box score. We talked about how a lot of other teams, because he's on our team now, how a lot of other teams would want a guy like PJ Tucker, if not PJ Tucker on their team. Hence the Sixers did it when they wanted him, when Joel wanted him after last season. Okay? But here's the thing, and PJ Tucker talks, and people talk about PJ Tucker like, oh, well, his offense is this. He can shoot that corner 3 and this and that. But again, like we said, a lot of teams will want a PJ Tucker on their roster, right? So, let me ask a question. And just playing around with some things here. It may not even be a valid comparison, but it just popped in my head and I just thought about it and I thought I would bring it out. What was the difference? And I just want to say, just playing basketball. We're not going to talk eras or whatever. Dennis Rodman, what he did, especially for the Bulls and those championship runs, okay? And that's the perfect point because we're talking Sixers playoffs now. And what PJ Tucker does right now. And again, I understand the game has changed. Different eras or whatever. But I want you to think strictly basketball. Okay? Because the game, in my opinion, hasn't changed. It's still basketball. The ideals and the concepts of the way the game has played now have changed significantly. But the playing basketball is pretty much the same. So how do you feel about that? What's the difference between what Dennis Rodman was doing and what PJ Tucker's doing currently. Yeah. If you don't give it to me now, you can think about it a little bit and just throw it in the comments, and I'll get to them later if I need to, because I'm going to check back again, and I may even just go back and post this actually after the fact when I go off air. So again, like I said, let me know, what do you think is the difference, if there is any difference, between what Dennis Rodman did when he played as opposed to what PJ Tucker is doing now. And then again, remember, when you're doing this, I don't want you to think eras. I don't want you to think the other players on the teams. I want you to think about what Dennis Rodman did. I want you to think about what PJ Tucker does now. Let me know if there's any differences, any similarities that you feel that you can point out. I'll be looking for those comments. Folks, it is now 11:46 a.m. I am going to take my first break right now. When I come back, I'm going to get into some NFL stuff. A lot of stuff I picked up, getting for the season. It's May. Training camps and things of that nature. We'll be getting closer starting in April. Well, we're in May, so we're getting April's draft, so we'll be getting closer. June is coming; it's right around the corner, so we'll be getting into some football things. So I got some stuff, some post draft stuff, some other stuff I want to talk to you about, the Eagles stuff. So stay tuned. You know where to come back. SportsRap Podcast LLC on Facebook, SportsRap CEO on Instagram, and Heat 100 Radio on TuneIn and Heat100Radio.com. Folks, it is your boy SportsRap CEO. See you on the other side in just a couple seconds. Also, before I go real quick, Mr. Antoine Terrell, my uncle Skip, thanks for tuning in. Before I go, let me see, I got on Instagram, I had Jay Blake, Robert Reeves, King by Designs, my cousin Marcus, and Scotty Philly. Last thing before I go real quick, Robert Reeves added into this, and he says, well, Dennis gave his team a lot more extra possessions because he was a better rebounder. I agree with that. He was taller and more athletic. Yes, he was. Tucker is more like a in your face leader and a person who's not scared to get in. Oh, he's like in your face leader, and he's not too scared to get in your face. Absolutely. So, folks, like I said, be on the other side. I'll be back. So stay tuned. Come on back, and we can talk some Eagles and some NFL talk on the other side. See y'all in just a minute. All right, folks, we are definitely back, and it is your boy, SportsRap D. You know what it is. I'm here, and I'm back, like I said. So we're going to get into this stuff, and before I get into the NFL stuff and the Eagles talk real quick, I want to just touch on something that I neglected to get to before I closed out, and I want to talk about a little bit more about the box score, and on the Sixers side of the box score. So we had a Joel Embiid type game as far as the box score. And we understand there were some moments down when it looked like Al Horford had got into his head, had him thinking about his moves and things of that nature. Thinking about possessions, things like that. And, he got to the point where he started thinking a little bit, and it kind of affected his play. But nonetheless, okay, he was 11 to 26 from the floor overall. He missed all of his threes, but he had 13 rebounds, so he had a double-double. He ended up with 34 points, and not so much in foul trouble, only called for 3 personal fouls, which is good. He had 4 assists as well. But again, as far as the box score shows, a typical Joel Embiid type of game as far as the box score. Tyrese Maxey, pretty good game, and Joel Embiid, 46 minutes, by the way. Tyrese Maxey in 45 minutes, 6 of 17, 2 of 6 from three-point land, 8 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 personal foul, 14 points. I like that from Tyrese Max. I also agree with what Doc said prior to playing Game 4 that they had to get Tyrese Maxey the ball more, even when Joel's on the court. And Joel has even said that himself, that he's got to be more aggressive. We need James Harden to just continue to be aggressive. He had a guest with him last night, James Harden, 47 minutes, 16 to 23, 6 of 9 from three-point land, 8 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 personal fouls, 42 points. So he's had two 40-plus point games in this series. And again, this is so far, okay, and we even go back to the first series, better than what we got when we got him halfway through the season in the trade last season. So far, better. Overall, let's say, overall better, okay? And I'm not saying it's already there, whatever, but overall, it is, let's go a little bit better than what we saw last year. The 240-plus point games are very, very pleasing. And I know we're not going to get that a lot, but we'll take it when we can get it. The bottom line is the way he played in both of those games when he scored the 40-plus points is the way that we need him to play. And again, we may not get that 40 points all the time. Like I said, we'll take it when we get it. It's a great thing. It's beautiful for us when we get it. But the bottom line is we need him to play in that style, with that type of aggressive nature that he played with in both of those games to get those points. And again, like I said, it may not come. The 40 points may not come, but we need him to play that aggressive to keep Boston honest on D. And that will also help Joel and some of the other guys. We need Tobias Harris to get back up. And like I said, this is the thing that I've been saying about Tobias Harris for the longest time, the longest running time, that he is a lot of times inconsistent. I'll say it this way. In my opinion, he's more times than not, he's inconsistent than consistent. Okay. I did give him praise, though, however, because he did play very consistent in that 4-game series against Brooklyn. Had a couple good games in this series. Yesterday was not one of his best outings. I'm 3 for 10 from the floor, 1 of 5 from three-point land, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 personal fouls, a total of 9 points. So, again, you see what it is. Off the bench, George Niang with 9 points, Paul Reed with 2, DeAnthony Melton played and didn't have many. Didn't have any. He had a goose egg. But, you like the things that DeAnthony Melton does. I saw some posts earlier today before I came on, and I saw someone ask what was going on with Jalen McDaniels. Why wasn't he out there? And, I mean, listen, it could have been the way the game was going. And then I had to remind that person that they talked about the trade. They're like, why trade for him if you're not going to use him? But I also had to remind the person that when you pay attention to everything like I do, you have to keep in mind also that although Jaden McDaniels was good for us and could be good for us, he was not like on our radar for a trade. He was involved in another trade, and it just ended up being him, the person that came to us. But it was somewhat of a blessing because we saw some signs of some things that he can do. So he just has to get incorporated more into it. And I understand coming in halfway through the season, I'm sure he probably doesn't know the entire playbook. He probably hasn't gained enough trust, as we can probably say that as far as we see his playing time in the playoffs as of yet. But if he were to return next season during training camp, I think that he could be a key part in the rotation. With him being here, if he were to be here next year, he could even take a roster spot from someone that has been here for a little bit. So we'll see what happens with that. Okay. Moving along, the Eagles. There's a lot of news around the Eagles, man. A lot of news around the Eagles. Kyle Brandt from the TV show Good Morning Football and CBS Sports, or is it Fox Sports, whatever. But nonetheless, he's from Good Morning Football. Thanks for coming back, Jay. I'm sorry, I'm into my zone right now, but I see you're back. He has Hurts as the top tier in his top tiers of quarterbacks. So he has 7 tiers that he listed. Okay, I'm gonna read them all to you. Tier 1, he has Jalen Hurts by himself. Tier 2, he has Prescott, Cousins, and Stafford. And 3, Good morning, Heat 100 Radio. Caller, tell me your name and where you're calling from.
Is this SportsRap D?
Yes, it is, and I know that voice.
Man, you know it's the top act, man. I'm calling in, baby boy.
What's happening?
Oh, man, I'm blessed, man. You know, I had a viral moment last night at the game with my boy, my middle son, Eileen the Dream.
Yeah, I
It
saw
was
it.
legendary, bro. And I want to say this. I'm glad you were right. That's why you are the sports aficionado that you are. So thank you for being
I appreciate that,
right.
man.
You've kind of been predicting this series to a T, so shout out to you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Listening to the show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So
I
listen.
just wanted to call and let you know me and Ube, we on our way to Virginia.
Yeah, I talked to U earlier.
We tuned in, bro.
That's the D. So listen, got a quick question for you. Now, you don't have to answer me right away if you can't answer right away. If you have to, you can give it a minute when y'all get to a station, where, a point where y'all stop, you can type it in or whatever. But I asked the question earlier when I was talking about how people, a lot of fans view PJ Tucker and the things that he does on the court currently. All right. And I said, for this instance, take away the errors, the style of play of the errors, okay? Think basketball. And I know you can do this, Tom, because you played. Just think basketball, just the basic concept of basketball.
Right.
What do you think is the difference, or is there any differences between what PJ Tucker does now and what Dennis Rodman did when he played?
Oh, no, I won't allow you to do that. I won't allow you to even put their names in the same sentence. No. I watched him last night. I feel like he's stealing money. Like, I don't know. I don't see it.
I get it. No.
I don't see it.
Don't get me wrong. Like I said.
He's terrible to me, bro.
And that's fine.
In real life and everything. He's terrible.
Absolutely. That's fine. This is what I wanted. This is why I say, like we say here, we keep it 100. Like I said, I put that out there because I was talking about it and I was reading some comments that I was getting on IG earlier. And it just dawned on me like, wait, if you go basketball-wise, is there anything that can be compared there? You the first person that definitively says no. I had somebody on IG.
14th row last night watching them in person.
Absolutely.
Worse in person.
Absolutely.
Worse in person, trust me.
So I got two different responses so far. I got the one that's adamant that there is no comparison, and I'm cool with that. I understand it. I agree with it. Like I said, this is what I was looking for. The other response I got was more, I'm going to say, a coach's response, because what was said was, he said that PJ Tucker was more of the in-your-face kind of leader talking to his teammates, and he is not afraid to get into people's skin on the court. So there is the difference. And you see what I'm saying when I see there's a difference. Like his answer was, yeah, not so much, but I will say that he'll do this and he won't do this. But I get where you're going when you say it's no difference. Like I said, you were there 14th row. I watch it all the time,
Right.
And like I went there because one of the things I saw somebody had sent to me this morning, and they talked about that. And the other way I did it, and I said, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. And I also asked, I said, people, when PJ Tucker did get that and one put back, and then he immediately went to Joel and was like, look, dude, you the man, you got to be aggressive. Like, this is what you do. I'm not supposed to be getting that rebound. And basically what I took from all of that, right? The thing I wanted to say was, I said to people, I said, well, here's the thing. Would you rather, and I get where you're going with it, Tone, just basketball concept. Would you rather have somebody that's going to stand in that corner and if he's wide open, take that shot, or somebody that's not going to shoot it at all? And I'm saying take names out of it. Well, take names out of it. Take names out of it. Just basketball players. If you could pull a basketball player out of the sky.
Obviously, I want somebody that's going to pull that trigger. We need to see if I got a player as dynamic as Joel Embiid.
Right. Okay. And that's what I was trying to get to people. And a lot of people that I said that to didn't seem to understand it. And like I said, the guys that I know that play ball will understand it a lot quicker and a lot sooner, a lot better than a lot of the people that don't really play ball. So appreciate you, my man. Glad I could get you in on that.
Show love, man. Shout out to everybody listening.
Yes,
and
indeed.
I'm waiting for the playback to listen to it on, iHeart and everything, iTunes and everything.
Absolutely.
What do you think, bro?
Appreciate you, man. I'll see y'all Thursday.
All right, bro. Salute. See you Thursday.
All right. Thanks for calling in. So there y'all have it, folks. You got a call from the top Tone Trump, Philly's own, my guy, all the way from the West from Texas, JB Hoff. 8, my guy, Jackie Bridges. What's going on, man? I see you, and I see them boys, man. It's a beautiful thing that you got going on with the boys out there, so I appreciate that love that you got with your kids, man, and appreciate the things that they're doing on that football field and making big waves out there, doing what they do. So, there you have it. You heard my guy, the top MDF, Tone Trump, and he gave you his opinion. He's very adamant that he feels that there is no comparison. And I'm glad that he answered it that way, and he answered immediately, because I didn't really necessarily want it to be a full comparison. And I mentioned that to him, and I said, I'm still glad at how you said it. And he didn't change his answer, which is great. But I didn't want it to be like that typical comparison thing. That's why I said I got the 2 different answers so far. But I'm appreciative, and I understand both answers. I agree with some issues on both, with some points on both sides of that. And I said because the thing I like, and because I've seen both of them play, I liked what Coach Rob said about Dennis Rodman. I also like what he said about PJ. And the thing I like about what he said about PJ, and this is going back to the point what I said earlier where he got into Joel's face. I also seen him yelling at Paul Reed on the bench on different occasions and things of that nature. I said because of a lot of the things that he does on the court, I feel like as in a team setting, he's afforded that luxury to be able to get into players. Just like your star players are afforded that luxury to get into players when they're not performing at the level where they expected to or where players think they should be. On the flip side, Dennis Rodman, in my opinion, was more of the psychological, mental type of player where he's going to get under your skin, but it's not going to be as aggressive as getting under your skin as PJ Tucker is going to be getting under your skin. Dennis Rodman makes the mental come alive in another player, and then that other player, in my opinion, develops their own aggressiveness against Dennis Rodman. That's the way I think. If anybody wants to chime in on that, think I'm feeling any different, feel free. But getting back to this, again, I was on second tier for Kyle Brandt in his list. Again, let's go back. Tier 1, he has Jalen Hurts by himself. Tier 2 is Prescott, Cousins, and Stafford. Tier 3, Derek Carr, Jared Goff, and Geno Smith. Tier 4, Daniel Jones, Mr. Fields from Chicago, and Kyler Murray. Tier 5, he has Mayfield and Purdy. Tier 6, Love, Ritter, and Howell. And Tier 7, Chase Young. I don't know. I could very easily sit here and say, because I'm an Eagles fan, say, yeah, I'm cool with that, Jalen Hurts or whatever. Some of the other ones I'm a little shaky with. You have, I guess you got Young down at the bottom in that 7th tier because he hasn't played yet. You got Purdy at the number in that 5th tier because of the way he came in and played very well for them up until the playoffs, to the NFC Championship game rather. And it is what it is. NFC East post-draft grades. Eagles and the Giants in our division get an A+. The Cowboys get a C+, and the Commanders get a B. Listen, Cowboys are who they are. They showed us time and time again. You saw Michael Parsons at the game with the Tyrese Maxey jersey on. Michael Parsons also said he was sick when the Eagles made their moves and did what they did during the draft night. Listen, it's not our fault that we have, arguably, if not the best general manager in the league. Teams are getting tired of it. Other GMs are getting tired of it. But the hate is real. But that just means that you guys need to get into the office and do your due diligence and get your job done. Do it better than Howie before you start to hate. Eagles 2024 opponents are here. Schedule's not out yet, and I think the schedule will come out sometime this month. But the home opponents, of course, Cowboys, Giants, Commanders. We got the Cardinals here. The Niners come back to the link. The Buffalo Bills, the Dolphins, and the Vikes are here. On the road, of course, the 3 division games, Cowboys, Giants, Commanders. The Rams, Seahawks, Patriots, Jets, Bucks, and Chiefs. Yeah. So those are the opponents. Like I said, the schedule is not actually out yet, but those are just the opponents. So now, another rankings, CBS Sports and their QB rankings. Again, Jalen Hurts is tops in the NFC. I don't get this. I don't understand this. They have Dak Prescott at number 2, Kirk Cousins, Fields, Jared Goff, Geno Smith, Derek Carr, Derek Jones, David Jones, Love. Number 10 for the 49ers, they have Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, because they don't know who's going to start. I also saw one meme that had the top quarterbacks, and then for the 49ers, they had Christian McCaffrey. It was pretty funny. And speaking of that, the typicals on the AFC side, Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Herbert, Lawrence, Aaron Rodgers now is on that conference, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Tua, and Jimmy G round out the tops in there in the AFC. So, talking more Eagles, and being as though I just mentioned that quick thing about the 49ers and the jokes that have been floating around them on the internet and things, we've all seen the issues and the talk from Deebo Samuel, who says he still hates the Eagles. And listen, you can if you want. Again, like I said, I went back to that. I had my guests here, and they agreed, and they said it wasn't the Eagles' fault that their quarterback got hurt in a football play during the game, and yada, yada, yada. Deebo Samuels didn't really play all that great. Then there's a meme out and a YouTube video with the article, and then it shows, like, what did he do? He really didn't. He was really pretty much kept under wraps, even by some backups that the Eagles had playing at positions in that game. So, I mean, listen, you came here, you got beat. Okay. Again, your preparation should have been a lot better than what it was. You should have had another quarterback. You did have a quarterback. Then, like they said, somebody even mentioned when I went through all this with people on the internet, they had an emergency quarterback. The emergency quarterback was Christian McCaffrey. Okay, that's fine, and every team has one. But at that point, you couldn't really afford to play Christian because now you take away some of your offense no matter what. So you just got beat. And I know a lot of times it's a tough pill to swallow when you come in and you think, oh, yeah, we're the number one defense, and you got shredded by an Eagles offense that had an MVP caliber candidate at quarterback. You had a defense that played like they wanted to get to the Super Bowl. But no, San Francisco was the number one defense coming in. And then after the loss, it's like, oh, well, this, and we hate the Eagles, and whatever. Listen, Deebo, suck it up, Buttercup. All right? The best thing you can do is hope that Brock Purdy can play, hope that Trey Lance is a quarterback and can be healthy, because neither one of them, I don't think, will be fully healthy from the start. And just tell your coach to work on the quarterback issues. Maybe that'll help you. But don't keep running that sour note that you have in your mouth because you got beat and try to have that be a narrative. You know, what are you going to say if you come here again and get beat again? What are you going to say then? Is it still going to be, oh, well, the Eagles, I hate the Eagles? You can hate us all you want. Just take the fact that you got beat. It happens. Okay? Y'all thought y'all was going to come in here and just run all over the Eagles. Not with that defense and a backup quarterback. And don't get me wrong, like I said, Brock Purdy, and I gave him his praise while he was playing. He was good. He played very well for y'all. But he ran up against a defense that he had not run up against during that stretch where he was playing well. And the tables turned. He eventually got injured. And then everything went bad for the 49ers after that. So whose fault is that? Personnel. GM, coach, how you use people. All in all, bottom line again, like I said, you guys got beat. You can't accept the fact that y'all just got beat. And you just want to put it out there and try to make a narrative on something about the Eagles and whatever, but it's not going to work. But again, we'll see y'all whenever y'all come to the link again this season. We'll see y'all. Hopefully you be healthy and you can play. And hopefully we'll have all our people. Hopefully you'll have all your people. Won't be any injuries involved. And we can get it on again and see what happens. That being said, folks, schedules for Monday night. NHL playoffs, game 3 tonight. Golden Knights are in Edmonton to play face-off against the Oilers. Got some WNBA action. WNBA game tonight. Mercury are in Seattle to face off against the Storm. In Major League Baseball, Tigers and the Guardians, Rockies and the Pirates, the Rays and the Orioles, the A's and the Yankees, the White Sox, Royals, Dodgers and the Brewers. Okay, Cardinals and the Cubs, also Angels, Astros, Marlins, D-backs, Rangers, Mariners, and Nationals, Guardians. In the NBA playoffs, Game 4 is tonight. First up, Knicks are in Miami to face off against the Heat, and that series is tied up 2-2, and I think the series is also 2-2. The Warriors are in L.A. to face off against the L.A. Lakers. Folks, again, thanks everybody that tuned in on Instagram. J Blake 5, Robert Reeves, Coach Robert Reeves, Kai, King by Design, Scotty Philly, my guy JB Hive 8, also on Facebook, Mr. Antoine Terrell, my uncle Skip Moore. Thank you all for tuning in. My guy, the Top Ock, Tone Trump, Muslim Don Family Official. Thanks for tuning in and calling in. I will hit you up when I get everything up on audio. When I get the audio up, I'll make sure I hit you up and let you, so you can tune into that and get everything from today. Folks, as always, thank y'all for tuning in right here on Heat 100 Radio, heat100radio.com. Again, you know where to find me. Facebook, SportsRap Podcast LLC is the group page. On IG at SportsRap CEO. You can get me there. On the webpage, as you all know, sportsrapradio.com. Check out that YouTube channel, folks. Please get over there and subscribe to that channel, SportsRap TV. Also, you can get the audio on iHeart, Google, Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, and Anchor Podcasts, or most of where you get your podcasts. Folks, it's going to be 70 plus degrees a day. A beautiful day to kick off your week. Be great on purpose. See you all week on social media. And right back here on Heat 100 Radio, Sports Rap Podcast LLC. It's your boy, Sports Rap D, signing out. Peace.